Good afternoon, everyone. It's Rick Ruiz, your Las Vegas realtor, and chiming in to say hello, of course, and also to answer a question that's been coming to me in an overwhelming amount by many of you, friends, family, clients. And so I wanted to go ahead and answer this question with my 2 cents on what's going on. And that question is, Rick, should I pay my mortgage? Or Rick, should I pay my rent? And like when anything else is in doubt, my biggest recommendation is to communicate. So communicate with your mortgage company, communicate with your landlord. So of course, there's been some federal assistance and pressure to lending institutions to not penalize banks for late mortgage payments, delayed mortgage payments, or non-payment. Of course, those directives are very vague. Doesn't say how they're going to treat different mortgage products, whether it's a federal program, a conventional program, whether it's a direct lender or a secondary market purchased mortgage that's now being serviced by a mortgage servicing company. All of this is very vague. And what I learned through the 2008 housing crisis was that these banking institutions, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, what have you, for example, as shiny and powerful and well capitalized as they are, they're very compartmentalized. So to use an expression, the right hand doesn't always know what the left hand is doing. And what we were seeing was when we were trying to negotiate debt settlements on behalf of clients when they were short selling their property, or when we were trying to acquire a property on behalf of a buyer that was purchasing either a bank-owned asset or a property that was being short sold and needed to have a settlement to the debt be made, the communication wasn't great. Of course, this was 12 years ago, 10 years ago, when there wasn't a lot of digital platforms, but nonetheless, it still was a lot of different departments. So many times, even after a client of ours did a short sale, the credit reporting wasn't great. We had to follow up 4 months later, 6 months later, sometimes a year later to get the reporting correct for our client to make sure that their credit was reflecting that they did do a short sale and not a foreclosure. The reason why I mention that right now is because, again, the news and the government and perhaps your bank has maybe even emailed you, letting you know what their steps are. But unless we're certain that these get executed perfectly, you risk having a derogatory mark on your credit if you choose to either pay late or postpone payments until a later date, which can be very detrimental to your credit, both short-term and long-term. Secondly, you want to ask, are my payments being added to my mortgage balance? And what that means is, let's say my mortgage is $1,500 per month, with $1,000 of that going towards the principal. Is my mortgage balance going up from, let's say, $200,000 to 201 and 202 and 203,000 if I don't pay, and then at the end of my mortgage I owe a little more? Or are these payments piling up, and if I don't send in 3 payments of $1,500, am I July 1st gonna owe 4 payments, $6,000 on in one shot? Two completely different situations. How your bank is treating it or how your mortgage servicer is treating it has to be the number one thing for you to know, because you can't assume that they're treating it one way and then finding out that your assumption was incorrect and now you're either behind on payments that you can't make up, or B, you are getting derogatory credit reporting, which could be detrimental to you in the short term and in the long term with your credit score. So main thing I can stress right now is communicate. Call your bank. I'm sure the waits are long, but call your bank. And if you are able to make your payments, by all means, make your payments. Because again, not having to make a payment doesn't mean you're not going to owe the money. It means that they're kind of trying to work around your household income flow to make sure that it doesn't go into default and doesn't trigger the foreclosure process. So most important thing and the only thing that I'm gonna stress to you right now is to communicate to your mortgage servicer or your bank to see how they are actually implementing their program, if at all, if they do have an option for you to either defer payments, add them to the back end, what have you. But make sure to communicate with them and be clear before you make a decision. I know it's April 6th today, which means you have a grace period for another 9 days, which gives you more than enough time if you're uncertain about what to do to reach out to your bank. Now, for you out there that are renting, every state and every county is different. Us, for example, in Clark County is a very landlord-friendly county when it comes to evictions and court processes. But again, there is a moratorium right now on evictions. But that just means that if there's an active eviction or one that should be started, it can't be done. It doesn't forgive amount of rent owed. So similar to how would I consult a homeowner is, again, if your rent is $1,500 and you don't make rent payments for the next few months because you know that you cannot be evicted, July 1, you're gonna owe $6,000 in rent. And if those money isn't being set aside, or if you're not prepared to make that lump sum payment that you've deferred, again, you're risking triggering the eviction process at that time, which of course now then is going to render you from having to move out of the property and then having to re-enter the rental market with these blemishes on your record. So we've seen all across the board, from what we've been seeing from the management side and the homeowner side, partial payments, full payments, waiting, communicating, but more importantly, the communication is the key. If you send your landlord a partial payment because cash flow is tight, you've been furloughed or laid off, that's great. Communicate with your lender how much is to come now and how much you're either going to create a payment plan for the future over the next 3 months, 6 months, or over the life term of the lease, whatever it looks like. But communicate it in advance so that you aren't triggering any unnecessary late fees, any penalties, or any blemishes on your credit that you don't want there due to this unfortunate circumstance. So again, I'm getting these questions a lot, so I wanted to address everybody at once. And also wanted to make myself available if you guys have a particular question in regards to your situation. Obviously, not every situation is the same, but more importantly, your biggest takeaway that I would like you to have is to communicate. Contact your mortgage servicer, contact your landlord, contact your property management company, whoever it is that you're dealing with. Communicate with them directly and let them know what your intentions are so that, again, your accounts are being notated, you're not triggering any derogatory credit reporting, collections, etc. But nonetheless, feel free to reach out to me directly. More than happy to answer these questions like I have been. But since it's obviously the elephant in the room right now, since we just passed the first of the month, and the mortgage grace period has about another 9 days to go before it's considered late. Wanted to go ahead and address this to you guys and make myself available. If you have any questions, feel free to either inbox me here, direct message through Facebook, Instagram, or call me on my cell, which I know you guys all have. It's 702-290-4663. Hope everybody's safe and healthy and with family, and we'll talk again soon.